Okay, Riot just put out a new dev blog, and we're going to be reacting to it live. I haven't seen this at all yet, so.
Hey everyone, I'm Paul, aka Pablo.
It says in the title here, ARAM Mayhem, Smurfing, and more, dev update League of Legends. So I'm curious about the questions I have around Smurfing, which we mentioned in the last dev blog, and I've been talking about ever since. They're just banning everybody, and there was a huge lack of clarification on what was, allowed and what wasn't allowed. It looks like with what happened with Pentalist and then with Doublelift recently is that obviously they were focused on banning accounts that had been leveled up using bots, and that's fine. But they also said that they were going to ban a bunch of people for like hitchhiking and duo boosting, and that left a lot of room open to like, okay, what is hitchhiking, or because obviously duo boosting is just paying somebody to play with you to rank up your account that usually you wouldn't know this person. So if I go play with someone who's a friend of mine, is that hitchhiking and duo boosting? If I'm on a lower count, does it matter if I'm off of my main champion? And so maybe I'm actually like not that far off of my rank that I would be on that champion or another role, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully they provide some clarification. I don't think they normally put up dev updates or dev blogs this frequently. So kind of curious, if they're just making this one as an add-on to that other one.
Dre, also known as Meddler. Today is September 22nd, so anything that happens between now and when this video goes out won't be covered.
In this video, we'll have some members from the dev team on to talk about smurfing and griefing, improvements to streamer mode, and a new take on ARAM.
Now though, let's get into it.
Hey everyone, I'm Eduardo, Riot Cadmus Cortejoso.
And I'm Riot Phlox.
We're back again for yet another game mode.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if your snowballs were larger?
Like, really large?
What about if you had multiple flashes for the biggest Zoe paddle star you've ever imagined?
Or if your ult reset all of your ability cooldowns?
Well, good news. We have a new mode for you that we're calling ARAM Mayhem.
It's ARAM, but with augments. It combines all the fun augment-fueled variations of Arena with 5v5 ARAM gameplay. If you're a Wild Rift player, this might look a little familiar. We took a lot of inspiration and learning from the success of AAA ARAM there and wanted to see what this could look like in League.
We want every champion to feel special and get to explore some combinations and fantasies that they don't normally get outside of Arena. Some of the augments
this is an ad for the new game mode. To be honest, I'm not that interested. They don't have timestamps.
We know that this is a big diversion from ARAM standard gameplay. So don't worry, ARAM purists. There is a regular queue that will still be active while ARAM Mayhem is live.
Not gonna
It'll
play.
be live with patch 2521, so look forward to some Mayhem coming to the bridge soon. Before we go, we wanted to close the loop on map rotations. For Season 2, we introduced 2 new ARAM maps, Cochin's Crossing and Butcher's Bridge.
Originally, our intent was to turn them off after Season 2 was over, but we saw a lot of feedback from many of you asking to keep them around, so we're making them permanent.
And we also want to quickly touch on map performance. We've seen some of you mention that you've been experiencing some issues across the different maps.
We've been working on a handful of improvements, some of which went live in 2519, with some more scheduled across the next few patches. That said, if you have any more performance issues, let us know.
And that's it for us.
This is something that they just glazed over, but this is actually kind of a big deal. Over the years, all games in general have been doing this, but League especially, League has never been that intensive of a game on your computer. And for some reason, ever since they went to the new map, and then it's been getting worse year after year after year. I think it's a combination of the skins and the champions being able to do more and all this stuff. Probably the items doing more. There's just so many effects and so many things going on, and a lack of optimization, because League and other games do this, know that they can get away with being less optimized because of the fact that League is like a low intensity game compared to some other things. And so they get away with that. But the problem is that while it's true that League isn't the most high intensity game to run on a PC, the issue is that you want it to run at a really high performance level, because frames matter a lot for like the competitive integrity of the game, and for players, having like a really reliable setup where they don't feel like there's any stuttering or lagging and things like that in the game. And so over the years, I felt that I don't know exactly why, changes to the map, the abilities and items and skins and stuff like that have just made the game extremely unoptimized. And it's led to consistent FPS drops over the years. And I'm on a newish computer, so it's not just like, my computer getting older or anything like that. There's definitely been a noticeable trend in that. Like, for example, this computer has a really good graphics card. I think it's like a 4080 or something like that, or 4090, whatever it is. I don't know. And it sometimes struggles during the middle of team fights to maintain. I have it at like 360 FPS. It struggles to maintain that quite frequently in the middle of team fights, let alone if I was recording at the same time or streaming. It becomes really difficult. And that's with everything else closed on my computer. So imagine someone who's maybe playing more casually or not thinking about that, but, or playing competitively, but is streaming or has OBS open and is trying to record, or, even like most people, has a guide up on Google Chrome in the background, or, some tabs open, or they're listening to music while they're playing or something like that, streaming music on Spotify. It's really taxing, and they kind of glossed over this, but I'm really happy to hear that they did something to optimize the map a little bit better. I would say, though, and I don't know exactly what the cause of this is over the years in that degrading, if they only did the map, they should really think about other things like skins, the champions that are being released, so things like that, items. I don't know a lot about optimizing those things for FPS, but there are definitely other areas. Also, there's so many skins. I mean, it would probably be a gigantic pain to try to optimize things like that if those abilities on those skins are somehow causing optimization problems for the game. I mean, I can imagine that would be a nightmare, but it would be really nice. So what a lot of games do nowadays, and League is not the main culprit of this, is they know that your computer has more and more capability over the years, and they know that your computer has more and more storage space. And so rather than spending time and money and paying people to better optimize the game, whether it's for storage space, compressing things and making it the file smaller, or whether it's for performance in game, like FPS and graphical performance, they're relying on your equipment getting better and you paying more for better equipment to not have to do the work of actually optimizing the game. When what they should do is they should optimize the game at the same standard that they always have. And then, if you have more storage, that actually means you can store more games. Or if you have a better graphics card, it means you can do more stuff at the same time, like being able to stream without huge FPS drops. I know for me, one of the main reasons why I don't stream consistently is just because at a Grandmaster Challenger level, I'm not willing to compromise even minus 100 FPS every game, for the ability to stream. It's just not worth it for me because I care more about playing the game than I do about streaming. And so there's a lot of people who are would be streaming, potentially could be good streamers, high elo players that people would like to see, whether educationally or entertainment wise, and they just don't do it because they care so much about the game and winning the game. They don't want to feel like they're at a huge competitive disadvantage. There's other problems too. They're actually about to get into streamer mode and stuff as well, but it's good that they're optimizing the game. And again, League is like a fairly low intensity game that is kind of the least culprit when it comes to these issues. I mean, some of the other games that take up 100 gigabytes for their game file and stuff like that are way worse than this.
For now, check out the blog for some more information on the mode, and we'll see you causing mayhem in ARAM.
Hey everyone, I'm Riot Froxon.
And I'm Just a Capybara.
And we're back today to talk more about what we've been doing to tackle smurfing, how it's been going, and what we'll be doing next. In the last dev update, we talked about how we were going to start taking additional action against accounts that engage in the two most common smurfing behaviors we see, boosting and hitchhiking.
As of patch 25.18, we've started taking action against accounts that do this stuff.
So far, we believe we're hitting our targets, with an over 99% accuracy rate over more than 10,000 cases. We're taking this a bit slow to make sure that we don't wrongfully punish anyone, but we expect to ramp this up to more than 10x in the coming weeks and months.
Big thanks to all of you at home. Your reports have helped us identify these accounts so we can punish them accordingly.
Another thing we talked about in the last dev update was how we were going to crack down on accounts that were being purchased, sold, or shared.
We're doing this in...
So I just want to say, and maybe it's part of their strategy because they don't want people to know what's happening with how they're identifying and banning accounts, obviously. But they, again, and maybe they'll get into it, so I'll let it play, but they just finished that topic on duo boosting and hitchhiking, which was the main thing I had questions about, right? And we've been asking about. I have said, and it's a nuanced position, but I think this is a correct thing to say, I have said that I support Riot cracking down on smurfing and reducing the amount of smurfs. I think it makes the player numbers look that we can see publicly on op.gg more accurate, which is great to know how the health of the game is doing. I think that it reduces like the problems that low elo players are facing when they're climbing nowadays playing versus a bunch of smurfs. I think that it makes queue time shorter in high elo by encouraging high elo players to actually queue up on their main account over and over again instead of on a bunch of smurfs. So there's a lot of reasons why cracking down on smurfs is a good thing, but it's just that they need to be transparent about when and what they're doing so that people don't get their account banned unless they're knowingly doing something they shouldn't. So for example, they were very clear when it came to using accounts that had been leveled with bots or buying an account that was level 30 from some other place, right? Which is usually leveled with bots. Like they were very clear that they were going to ban those accounts. And so people who listened to that and who paid attention to that knew what to do. And they've been saying that for a long time. It's been pretty clear that their stance is that it's okay to have a Smurf account as long as you hand level the account. So for example, people like Tyler1, people like me have hand leveled our Smurf accounts, whereas other people like Doublelift and like Pentalis did not hand level their Smurf accounts. As a result, they got in trouble and got punished for it because Riot was clear about that being the case, and then we didn't, and so we still have our accounts. That's fine. What I'm getting at here with the duo boosting and hitchhiking thing is we need to know what that means. So for example, when I go on a Smurf account and I play with my wife, can I play, I mean, it's the same conversation we've been having, but they're not answering it. Can I play a certain number of games before it becomes too much? Are we just never allowed to play ranked together at all? Is it fine if I'm playing an off role? Maybe if both of us are playing an off role? And so, you know, I'm not like, technically I've never gotten to a rank that's like so much significantly higher on that role or on that champion that would justify it being like hard smurfing. Does our win rate matter? Like if we're, if we're winning 90% of our games, then it's more obvious versus like if because I'm playing a role in a champion I'm not familiar with and we're not doing all that well, if we're winning 55, maybe 50% of our games, does it matter 55% versus 50%? There's no clarification on what that means. So when I hear duo boosting, I think, okay, somebody paid for some random person to duo with them to get them to a higher rank. Whereas, hitchhiking is like the person who's on the receiving end of that. So the duo booster would be the booster, the higher rated player. The hitchhiker would be the lower rated player who's playing with that person. So the question would be then, like, if you're not paying somebody for that service, if you're just playing with a friend, does that count as doing that? And then does the win rate role champion, does that matter? So if I'm like legitimately like a Emerald 80 carry over like 100 games or something like that, or 200 games, does that mean that I can play with a friend in Emerald on 80 carry, or does that mean I'm like not allowed to play 80 carry? I have no idea. And so for me, it's very difficult because I don't want to lose my accounts. I don't want my accounts to get banned, but I want to be able to play with my friends every once in a while, a few games here and there. It's not like we're duoing for like 50 games, 100 games or something like that. I just play a couple of games. I think I've been fine because, okay, here I'm playing, 2-3 games with the person and then maybe we won't play for a month. But it's very, very confusing. And there's just been no clarification, and their response here is just say the same thing that they said in the last video, which is we're going to start banning more accounts that are duo boosting and hitchhiking. But what does that exactly mean, right? Is that just people who are buying boosting services? Is it friends playing with each other? Again, I mean, it's the same spiel.
A phased approach to make sure our bans are accurate.
Let me go back here because they said the next
that were
thing they
being purchased,
wanted to talk
sold,
about.
or shared.
We're doing this in a phased
Accounts. Okay.
Going to crack down on accounts that were being purchased, sold, or shared.
So next, they're talking about accounts that were being purchased, sold, or shared. I think that that's pretty obvious, right? They were just banning them.
We're doing this in a phased approach to make sure our bans are accurate as we go. That said, since these changes rolled out last month, we've banned 400,000 accounts that were used in ranked,
Wow.
another 1.5 million accounts that had been botted and sold, and another 2.5 million accounts that were waiting to be sold.
These botted accounts were typically created by account sellers before Vanguard was implemented, and have been used as Smurfs. On a similar note, we've seen a ton of questions from you all about what accounts will or will not get banned as part of this.
Okay, thank God. I should have just let the video play. They're going to answer my
Sweet.
question.
Things like, I purchased an account a long time ago and it's my main now, will I get banned? Or, my sister played a round of TFT on my account once, am I going to get perma'd?
We combed through hundreds of your questions and created an FAQ with the most
Those were not my questions,
commonly
but
asked
it's
ones.
okay.
That's live now.
Oh, there's an
So go check
FAQ. Okay, we'll have to go to the FAQ.
it out. One common question we do want to answer now, though,
Oh,
is
maybe
when
they'll
bans
answer
for
it.
these types of infractions will go into effect. If an account is purchased or sold as of patch 2518, we will find these accounts and ban them going forward.
Given the appeals we've seen to date and our accuracy rates after manual review, we're still quite confident in the accuracy of our detection systems. With that said, if you believe you are wrongfully banned, please reach out to our awesome player support team for help. Okay, so that just about covers our follow-ups from the last dev update, and now let's talk about what we've got coming in this space for the rest of the year.
The next big step we're taking is account linking. Simply put, this means each player's alt accounts
Okay.
will be linked to their main account as long as we're confident they all belong to the same person. We'll model this through a combination of Vanguard data, account data, and behavioral data. This means that soon, we'll be able to act on linked accounts to address a long-standing issue, avoiding punishments.
Many of you are familiar with our penalties today. Things like longer queue times if you dodged too many games, chat restrictions if you lost your cool and insulted a teammate, or in the most extreme cases, temporary or permanent bans.
These are useful tools when it comes to discouraging negative behavior, but they become significantly less effective when someone can just buy and hop onto another account.
Our purchased account bans should cover a good number of these cases, but in situations where the player is using a legitimate alt, things get a little bit trickier. That's where account linking comes into play.
See, what is a legitimate alt? I don't understand, because like the Summoner's Code has always said smurfing's just not allowed, but they've always allowed smurfing. Now they're kind of cracking down and saying, okay, you can't boost somebody, you can't buy and sell an account. Well, we've kind of known those things, right? But then like, okay, they're saying duo boosting and hitchhiking, which is this newish term. It's like, what exactly makes a hitchhiker or makes someone who's causing somebody to be hitchhiking, as opposed to just playing with your friends? And then the other issue here is, what were they saying on? Well, this is going to get interesting, so I'll let them finish on like linking accounts to ban them. That's going to get really wild, but I think maybe it's smart.
Starting in 25-23, punish
They said legitimate accounts. Yeah, I just don't know what that means, like a legitimate account. Does that mean that I like hand leveled it myself and then I can do whatever I want on it or play with whoever I want? Or, am I not allowed to play with certain people if I hand leveled it? One thing to go off of, though, that can give you a little bit of perspective on it, that they don't really talk about, and, they wouldn't, but it's kind of moderated by a different group of people, but in the League Discord, you can look for a duo partner in the League Discord. And there was a major change to that. I don't remember when, but probably about a year ago, where they started removing people's posts when people would say, like, I'm smurfing in gold 3 or whatever, looking for a duo or whatever. And they made a requirement or a rule that if you are smurfing, you need to disclose that you're smurfing, and you can only duo with other smurfs, or you can only ask to duo with other smurfs. Now, obviously, it's just the Discord, but that should tell you, that maybe Riot is leaning towards maybe smurfs can duo with other smurfs, but not with players who are legitimately around that rank. But again, very unclear. But maybe it'll come up in the FAQ, since there are so many questions that need answered and they made a list.
Punishments will carry over between accounts that were highly
Sorry,
confident
this is important too. So they're talking about punishments are going to carry over between accounts.
players using a legitimate alt. Things get a little bit trickier. That's where account linking comes into play. Starting in 25-23, punishments will carry over between accounts that were highly confident share an owner. This means that the person griefing your games can't just hop onto an alt and keep trolling. We're going to apply the same penalty and escalations across all of their accounts.
Our penalty ladders are designed to give people real chances to change their behavior. We almost never permaban an account for a first-time incident, but we won't let bad actors exploit our system by creating an infinite number of second chances.
With all of that said, the vast majority of you don't break our rules. So if you're in good standing, great news. You still have nothing to worry about, and we expect to get some perennial bad actors out of your games starting in a few patches. Okay, so that's everything that we have on account linking, but we do have one more thing we want to share with you today, and that's our new and improved streamer mode. Starting this week, we're making it possible for you to fully hide your identity from your lobby, which will cut off your lobby's ability to find your stream through third-party sites and exploit hidden information or grief your game based on who you are.
Back when we introduced streamer mode earlier this year, we got a lot of feedback that it wasn't going far enough to obscure player identities. For example, people could get around it with third-party apps that advertise who's a streamer in their live game. We took note of
This was something I saw, and I thought it was the craziest thing that you could go to like deeplol.gg, and when you did the multi-search for your lobby when you were loading into the game, it would tell you who has a Twitch and who doesn't, and it would link you directly to their Twitch stream. Because I thought before, maybe I was naive, but I thought before that like, sure, like big streamers get sniped or whatever, right? But like, surely if I'm streaming without a map cover on to like 5 people, like nobody's gonna see that in like a master's lobby. Like nobody's gonna be aware that it's me and like look that up. But they can, just by using that multi-search, it would take them straight to the stream and they'd be able to ghost the game. So yeah, it's bad.
what players wanted from a feature like this. And after getting feedback from pros, creators, and working with third-party apps, we're now ready to launch a big update to this feature.
Starting in patch 25-20, you'll have 3 options to choose from for streamer mode. Hide other names, which is today's streamer mode functionality. Hide my name, which will hide your Riot ID and game name, but not your account progression stats like champ mastery and ranked borders, which people could theoretically use to find you. And finally, hide my everything, which hides all identifying information about your account from lobby to end of game. Our goal here is to protect our players, creators, and pros that are just looking to play a normal, fair game of League without their personal identities impacting those games. We're excited to be launching this feature in patch 25-20, which goes live this week. Let us know how you like it.
And that's it from us. If you're looking for more information on the features we talked about today, please check out the dev blog and FAQ out now.
So until next time, thanks for keeping it honorable on the Rift.
And if you aren't, prepare to be
Terminated!
It's like 2 minutes left.
and have a nice day.
So this November marks 1 year since Arcane's finale, and we'll be celebrating that anniversary online with all of you.
The Arcane team will be looking back at the series, sharing behind-the-scenes content, and bringing
Let me
back
pull
some
up
fan
the
favorite merch.
list.
For League, we'll be kicking off the anniversary in patch 25.23. There'll be a free mini reward track with new icons and emotes, and we'll also be bringing back all the Arcane skins from Season 1 and Season 2.
This also includes Arcane Fractured Jinx, who's getting some updates.
Okay, whatever. Dev account linking and streamer mode. We recently rolled out changes to reduce the number of Smurfs in League because we believe League is at its best when both teams have a fair shot at winning. That isn't possible when some players try to ruin games for everyone else. To recap what we've done so far this year, in patch 25.6, we started off issuing LP refunds for players that had a cheater in their games with the help of Vanguard, which was just one part of our ongoing efforts to get cheaters out of League. Then in 25.9, we took a major step in keeping inters and griefers out of your games by improving our detection systems, which resulted in 10 times more players per day receiving bans for game-ruining behavior. Our behavioral systems team continues to expand and refine those detections based on game data and your feedback. In the last dev update, we shared our plans to address certain forms of smurfing like boosting and hitchhiking, as well as banning botted and shared accounts. In 25.18, which came out on September 9th, we began to implement those plans. But this patch doesn't mark the end of our work in this space. Before the end of this year, we will release 2 more projects aimed at improving the quality of games. The first one, which will land in 25-23, is a system that links alt accounts to main accounts, which we'll use to link penalties across accounts that share an owner. I mean, I think that that's just a good idea. I don't know how you can really argue with it. I suppose if you got banned or chat restricted, though, that would feel really bad. But, I mean, I think that that just makes sense. Okay. Let's see. The second one coming out in 25-20, so that's actually earlier. I think that's like next patch. I think that's like in a day, is a new and improved streamer mode that will allow players to hide all of their uniquely identifying information from their lobby. Our work in this space is never truly done, so expect to continue to hear from us. I mean, that's also just a nice positive change. They didn't really explain to me how that prevents people from using something like DeepLol and finding your stream. However, if they said that they worked with third-party app creators, I'm sure that they just, like other tools that they've done in the past, I'm sure that they just told them to ban it or they would deny them access to the API. So, that's usually how that goes. When a third-party app implements something that they believe is too strong of a competitive advantage or, could be used for basically cheating in the case of like ghosting and stream sniping and stuff like that, they will... they will just tell those third-party apps that they need to shut that ability down, otherwise they won't give them data. So that's fine. If you have any questions as you're going through this blog, make sure you check out our account penalties and enforcement frequently asked questions, where we answer many of the commonly asked questions we've gotten from players on these similar topics. So again, my main question, which hopefully this answers, is what counts as duo boosting and hitchhiking? Can you get banned for duoing with a lower rated friend? And for how many games, at what win rate? Does it matter if you're off of your main role or champion? In our last dev blog we wrote, this is on botted accounts, the botted account ban wave, which was very real. We felt this in high elo because it's that a lot of high elo accounts, people are restarting new account, go again. And when they're doing that, a lot of times they're buying new accounts because they don't want to spend the time to level it to 30. And so a lot of Challenger and Grandmaster accounts got banned because they were not hand leveled by the person who owned them. And as a result, the LP threshold for Challenger and the LP threshold for Grandmaster dropped by like 30 points or something like that. Something crazy. So they definitely made a lot of progress there. I'm also excited about shared accounts because there's a lot of like shared Chinese accounts on the NA server and stuff like that that are going crazy. That it would be nice if they get rid of those. Vanguard has also helped us make massive strides in detecting when accounts are shared, sold, or botted, which typically correlates to boosting or hitchhiking. Thanks to this, we're making progress in improving our detection models, which will be rolling out in patch 25.18 to even further crack down and prevent this behavior from happening in your games. Part of what Vanguard has helped us do through a combination of hardware and behavioral data is identify accounts that were originally botted and subsequently sold or shared. We're in the process of banning many of those accounts, all of which have broken our terms of service. The reason we're taking more time on this is because we don't want to permaban every single player who has ever bought an account. Additionally, we want to make sure we have the time to evaluate how players have engaged with botted accounts, how many botted accounts they have, and their transgression histories before finalizing a full list of accounts to be banned here. There are many players who have abused botted accounts to smurf or ruin games, and they absolutely deserve to get banned. This is going to go crazy. But there are also players who purchased a botted account a long time ago, played a ton of games themselves, who have had those botted accounts become their main and oftentimes only account, and who have conducted themselves honorably. We don't want to uniformly ban these players' accounts. With that in mind, this is a final warning to not buy, share, or sell accounts because as of patch 25.18, which is one patch ago, we will be finding and banning all instances of this going forward. Alt account detection and penalty linking. We've heard from many of you that our penalties don't always feel meaningful. This is the same thing that they said. or effective because some players use alt accounts to avoid penalties. This is true. These players abuse the fact that League is free to play by making or buying multiple accounts and engaging in various kinds of antisocial behavior, whether it's running it down, being toxic in chat, or smurfing on a bot or botted account. This behavior isn't welcome in League. Until now, these accounts have been treated as disposable with no possible consequence to a player's main account, but that will change soon. In 25-23, we'll use a variety of hardware and behavioral data points to link a player's identity across their accounts, with the end goal of actively applying all penalties across linked accounts in situations where we're able to confidently link them together. That will mean penalties incurred on one account will be treated as though they happen on each account where we're confident that they're the same person. We understand that players may have concerns about the accuracy of our alt account detection. Given the potential consequences of having a punishment linked from another account, we want to reassure you that we're taking the time to ensure that we're very confident in our alt account model's accuracy before handing out any punishments. When this goes live, we will only link penalties in cases where our confidence in shared account identity is extremely high. As a note, Korea already uses a unique identification system to verify each player when signing up for a new account, and as a result will follow their local policies when it comes to account linking. Account sharing and selling live now. This one is more of a follow-up from our last dev update. Vanguard is helping us crack down on accounts that are shared, sold, or botted, which typically correlates to smurfing, and now we're back to let you know how it's going. At the time of writing, we've banned 400,000 accounts that were used in ranked, and another 1.5 million accounts that have been botted and sold, another 2.5 million accounts that were waiting to be sold, and we're just getting started. Expect us to continue to ban more botted and purchased accounts going forward to help keep your games fair. This is the streamer mode thing. They did not create... Maybe this is the wrong thing? This does not answer any of the questions. No, this was the right thing, right? Oh, no. Okay, that was smurfing. Account penalties and enforcement frequently asked questions. Okay, here we go. Over the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of discussions and questions asking for more clarification around how we'll be implementing penalties in cases of rank manipulation, having multiple accounts, etc. In an effort to help clear up some ambiguity, we're spinning up this frequently asked questions with the goal of addressing a good amount of your questions. Quick disclaimer, many situations can be unique and have extenuating circumstances, so it's quite literally impossible for us to address every single possible scenario, but we'll do our best to broadly answer as many of your questions as possible. Timing. When will bans for purchased and botted accounts go into effect? As of September 9th, 2025, which was the last patch, well, not the patch that we're currently on, but the patch before the current patch, right? 25.18. And we have also begun to penalize for this behavior dating as far back as our detection systems will allow us. When will punishments for account sharing go into effect? September 9th, 2025. And we will also penalize for this behavior in 2025 and onwards. When will bans for smurfing, namely boosting and hitchhiking, officially start? Penalties have started rolling out for individual accounts in waves on patch 25.18 for behavior in 2025 and onwards. When will account and penalty linking go into effect? Penalty linking will go into effect November 19th, which is patch 25.23 and onwards. Definitions: intentionally deranking. Hitchhiking is queuing up with another account, typically a booster, in order to get carried to a higher ranked division. See, maybe they'll hopefully answer this, but I would hope that anyone who is queuing up with a duo is hoping of getting carried to a higher division. Maybe not like carried, maybe that's the word that it relies on, but like hopefully your goal when you queue up with someone, whether it's a friend or whatever, is that you guys will like do well in your game together, and it'll result in you getting a higher rank division. So what does it mean to get carried? Like, for example, I'm a support player, right? Now, I happen to be a very good support player, so a lot of times I'm the one doing the carrying, let's be honest, and support's broken. But let's say that I was a support player and I wanted to queue up with an 80 carry because I wanted to get carried. Now, maybe I'm just being semantic with the word choice, but again, I don't have an answer to if I go and I play 80 carry and I've been stuck in Emerald for 200 games on 80 carry. Does that mean that I'm smurfing and so I can't play with a friend even though I'm playing 80 carry, who's like of a similar rank to that 80 carry account, or is that totally fine? Now, luckily for me personally, again, I think I play so few games with those people that I think it won't be that big of a deal. But you know, it raises some concern. So it's like, what exactly is hitchhiking and duo boosting? Because it's not like they're paying me. It's not some random person I don't know. And in a lot of cases, I'm playing a champion or a role that I don't normally play. And so who knows exactly what rank I am on those roles in that account or those champions. And in some cases, I have a better idea. Like with a role like 80 carry, I've put in a bunch of games on a Smurf. I'm pretty confident that I'm not that good at it, right? You know, so like there I have like a comparison. Whereas like if I go play top lane or mid lane, I have a top lane and mid lane account, but I've played so few games on them that I've just like gotten to gold after like 10 games over and over again in different seasons. So like I would imagine I'd be much higher than that, obviously due to my rank on support and you know, and the fact that I got there so quickly in so few games on those accounts. So it's like you know, if I don't know where I'm at, if I go and I play with someone in gold at top lane, for example, is that not okay because I haven't played enough games on the account to know whether I should be in gold or whether I should be in plat or emerald or diamond or wherever? You know, it's just all confusing. So we kind of get the definitions, right? Queuing up with another account, typically a booster, in order to get carried to a high rank division. But when it comes to a ban, it's not really a loose definition. You need like a specific definition of like, okay, this is likely to result in you getting banned or not. So boosting, a form of ranked manipulation. This is queuing up on an account that is not their own to inflate said account's MMR. This can also include a booster duo queuing with someone on a Smurf account to inflate the boostie's account MMR. Yeah. Ranked manipulation, inclusive of boosting. This can also involve grouping in flex queue and intentionally losing games to reduce rank MMR, or using one of these deranked accounts to queue with another account to artificially push it up the ladder. Purchased and botted accounts. An explicit violation of our terms of service, any account not leveled and used by a single player falls under this category. Account sharing, giving or selling an account for use by another individual that is not the original creator, alternatively using an account created by another individual. Account linking, linking multiple accounts together in cases where we are extremely certain they are all being used by the same individual. Penalty linking will be sharing penalties between linked accounts in order to prevent a user from avoiding repercussions for their actions. Bans, suspensions, and restrictions. A ban, a suspension can be used interchangeably to describe a penalty where you're unable to access your account for a set period of time. Restrictions, on the other hand, are time-based limitations placed upon your account for earlier or smaller infractions. So, I mean, we know that, like a ban or a suspension versus like a chat restriction, that sort of thing. Account and penalty linking. I don't care. I want to know the answer to my question. Account and penalty linking. Which penalties are linked across accounts versus which are account specific? All penalties will be linked across all accounts that we're confident are yours. Will my accounts that I've owned for years but are purchased or botted be banned if I've been well behaved? This one's a bit tricky. If will my accounts that I've owned for years but are purchased or botted be banned if I've been well behaved? This one's a bit tricky. If you bought the account a long time ago and it's your new main and you've demonstrated good behavior, you'll likely be fine. Oh, that's really interesting. So I didn't realize that. I thought that they were going to ban anyone who was on a bot account. That's interesting. So again, my personal experience with this is I probably have like 10 level 30 accounts or something like that. And I had one, which was like one of my early days accounts. It was probably like my fourth account or third account or something like that. I went and I bought an account for like $5 or something like that. That was level 30. And it turned out that it had been botted to level 30. And so once I got the account to Diamond, the account ended up getting banned after I'd played like over 100 games on the account. This was many, many years ago. And I was so sad and disappointed that I had spent money on an account and spent hundreds of hours grinding the account to Diamond. It was the first Smurf account I had ever gotten to Diamond, first account I had gotten to Diamond besides my main at the time. And I was so disappointed that I had put that time in only for it to get banned that I just decided it was worth spending the, little bit of time when I had, something else going on. I could just load up some bot games while I was in my college classes on Zoom, in the background. And I just sit there and wait out some long bot games in order to gain XP. I had a whole strategy. I played a Mumu jungle, built really tanky. I cleared super, super slow. Actually, I didn't clear because if you level up, that makes your minions stronger. So I actually just ran from camp to camp to camp, just bonking it. And then, or like the best one was from Scuttle Crab to Scuttle Crab. Keep you active in the game, but you're just, running back and forth. Because you actually want the games to go longer unless you're buying per win boost or something like that. But then it gets kind of expensive. So maybe it saves you a little bit of time, but not really worth it. So anyways, I had a method to my madness, but I just leveled all the accounts myself. And then that other account was just banned permanently. So basically, because of that experience, I just always hand leveled all my accounts. And then I noticed when people were doing that versus not doing that. For example, when people like Tyler1, as I've brought up, did all of his challenges, he hand leveled all of his accounts to level 30 in bot games himself so as not to inflate the MMR of the account with a Riot account or to inflate the MMR of the account by winning a bunch of normal games or something like that, which you can do on a new account. So his climb to Challenger on all 5 roles was very pure because of that. Whereas a lot of players, it doesn't mean that they wouldn't get Challenger. If you're able to get Challenger, even if you have an account that starts with D1 MMR or something like that, or Diamond MMR, of course, if you're able to get Challenger, you'd be able to climb through Bronze, Silver, Gold, no problem, whatever, right? But there is something special about actually having to go through the whole process and about the number of games that it takes, because the number of games that it takes is important, and it's something that people compare to try to learn about different roles and stuff like that. And there's something much more pure about having to take 1,000 games to really work your way through all of the ranks than to just, like Pole Belter has done with Riot accounts, to just, I'm instantly starting in high diamond games where the games make sense, where people are playing in a way that makes sense. And he's just having to mechanically pick up on a few champions, and then he's there, in like 200 games or something like that in a blink, with great MMR the whole time. It's like, Tyler had to go through that pure climb through all of the ranks naturally, to play in the worst ranks where losses hurt you the most in terms of your MMR. When he was at his worst on the role and learning the champions for the first time. So it is a very different climbing experience. On the other hand, you've had players like Dantes who are they're not given Riot accounts and is unwilling to hand level his accounts. So Dantes will go to places, he's done this like twice now, will go to Korea and then his accounts will get banned. I think this last time they said it was for a different reason. I think he flamed a pro player. But oftentimes Dantes will go on a trip, commit spending thousands of dollars to doing this, but not be willing to spend the 1 day off stream to 3 days off stream to level an account by hand. So he'll go to Korea, he'll put in a bunch of time, and then his account will get banned and the content will get ruined because he's not willing to hand level the accounts. So you have a wide spectrum of things there. Luckily, since I had that experience happen to me a long time ago, I don't remember how many accounts I have, but maybe my 7 level 30 accounts are all hand leveled by myself. So I'm absolutely clear on this one. So no botted accounts, no bot accounts. We're chilling on that one. We've been chilling on that one for many, many, many years. probably like 9 years now or something like that. So let's see. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So they said that if you had a bot account, though, and it's from a long time ago, and you're not like a super toxic player who's like permabanned and getting reviewed anyways, you're probably chilling. So that's fine, I think. It's interesting, though, they mentioned the main account. I don't know how they would necessarily tell that it's your main account or not. Maybe once the account linking thing goes up, they'll just be able to see which one you're playing on more and be able to tell. But I don't really know what they mean by that at this point. How they would tell that, okay, or why it would even matter that it would be better that it's your main account or not. I don't know. Smurfing, boosting, and rank manipulation. Will smurfing bans be done automatically or by manual review? We'll be automatically banning accounts that meet strict parameters that we have an extremely high level of confidence in. So it's automatic system. What can I do if I believe I was falsely banned? We have a very high level of confidence in our parameters, but you can submit a ticket to player support. What's the range of rank difference that officially qualifies as an account being boosted? Okay, this is a huge part of my question. Our system actually doesn't take visual ranks into account at all. It purely looks at MMR. Okay, but what is the acceptable range of MMR? If we detect that there are major, unusual MMR changes over a short period of time, we would define that as boosting and or ranked manipulation. It's very obvious to us when an account that has a silver rank suddenly has master level MMR. That's pretty clearly incorrect. Make sure to check out formal definitions on our player support page as well. We might look at that. The good news here that I want to say is that this sounds like you would be very hard pressed and you'd have to do a big grind and play a lot of games with a friend in order to get banned for duo boosting a friend or for like playing with a lower rated friend. Because what they're looking for, as they mentioned in this example, which is an extreme case, a more obvious case, but they're saying all of a sudden a silver account, right, shoots up to like master MMR. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about like, okay, a master player or a diamond player goes and they duo with their friend for like 10 games over a weekend or something like that. That is never going to result in such a large change to that person's MMR, such a large increase. Even if you were to win a lot of them, it wouldn't result in such a big increase to their MMR that it would be detectable by this system. Because even in a weekend, if you went from silver to gold or something with a friend, that is just not going to be enough to be detected as obviously large enough for them to have a high level of confidence that that account is being like duo boosted or hitchhiking or whatever. It's just not enough evidence for that. So it sounds to me like you would have to either be consistently playing a lot with this person, not just sporadically playing. So sure, if you were playing every day with this person, maybe even if you played every day with this person for like 2 or 3 months or something like that. But unless you're playing like a lot of games, so to answer my question based on what they've said here, if you're playing like 10 games or less with the person, there's just no way you're going to get banned for duo boosting. There wouldn't be a big enough change. MMR does not change that quickly to be able to even pick up on something like that, which is great to hear, because to be honest, I think as long as it's not manipulating the ranked ladder, right, as long as it's not taking a player and putting them at a significantly higher rank, like from silver to plat, or a bigger difference of that, I think that if you go up 1 rank or less, or it's like 10 games or less over a certain period of time, like 10 games or less in like a week or something like that, I think it's a low enough amount that it really shouldn't matter. And I think that's what it sounds like here, is unless the account, you start with accounts together and then you take this player all the way from a silver player to, way high up, diamond, masters, whatever, it sounds like it's not going to be that big of a deal. Now there's a middle ground there, right, where maybe if you take a player from silver to plat over a couple of days, that might get flagged, right? But if you're playing 10 games with somebody and you go up a division or two, I just don't think that that's really gonna, and I know they're basing it off of MMR, not off of face rank, but it's the same thing behind the scenes with MMR, really. Okay, so maybe you can go up a little bit more if you're win streaking. Maybe you go up the equivalent of like 3 or 4 divisions of MMR in 10 games if you went 10-0 or something like that. But that would never be picked up. Also, I'm not going 10-0 with anyone. We're too bad. But that's the good news. So that's nice to hear. They said they have formal definitions here. So I'm just kind of curious because this was my main question. MMR, ELO boosting, rank manipulation. Yeah, let's just read this. This is not too long. What is rating boosting and rank manipulation? MMR boosting, MMR rating, also known as ELO boosting or rank manipulation, is an act where a player, the booster, logs into another player's account, the boostee, to play a ranked game. Well, it's generally accepted that the intent, but this is talking about logging onto someone's account. Rank manipulation can involve grouping up. We know why it's considered bad. How are we punishing it? Wow, that just doesn't answer like at all. Okay, that told us nothing. This was way more helpful. So what's the range of rank difference? It has to be obvious that the account had a gigantic sudden shift in MMR over a short period of time. If we detect that there are major, unusual MMR changes over a short period of time. So for example, let's say that you had a player who was like in gold for 100 games, 200 games, and then all of a sudden they start playing with someone else and they suddenly shoot up to emerald, right, over like a short period of time. That would be highly unusual, and it would be considered that they were like being duo boosted by the other player, especially if the other player has, they can identify obviously that the other player is smurfing. So because of their patterns and how fast they were ranking up from fresh on the account and how high their MMR is. So using that information, they're going to be able to tell, okay, like that would be too much. But, and there's a gray area because they're not telling us exactly how much. But then, if you're playing a small set of games or the rank's not changing that much or you're not successful at winning, then, and that helps because that means, okay, if I'm playing a champion or a role that's not my main champion, and so we're only winning 50% of our games, there's just no way we're going to get banned because we're playing fair by choosing a champion or by choosing a role that we're not as good at. We're making it so that we're winning 50% at that rank, and so we are playing fair even if we're at a lower rank. And so that wouldn't be picked up by the system because we're kind of self-policing what role and what champion we're playing with our friend on. So for example, if you were worried that, hey, I do want to play with a friend for more games together, I would suggest, can you try a different champion or a different role so that you can play together, so that maybe you do improve together and get that experience together and win 51, 52% of your games, or, even maybe up to 55%, but you're climbing at a more natural pace than you would be if you were abusing your main champion, your main role, something like that. So in a niche case where you want to play with a friend and you're doing it too successfully, I would say try switching to a role you'll be less successful on and tamping down on that. So something like that. The other thing I would say about this too is that, like, if you've got an account that is like a fresh account and it's like coming in with really high MMR, playing with your friend on that account is not a good idea because it's going to be obviously identifiable that like you're on a Smurf account and that your MMR is really high. And if you're still successful, even while playing with that lower rated friend, then their MMR is going to go up by a lot more quickly. So it's much better if you have an account like that you play an alternate role or champions on that maybe has been a little bit more stuck, or even an account that you've just been doing poorly on that's MMR is not as good and a little bit more stuck. Always better to play with a friend on that account in order to avoid being banned than to play on an account that is like skyrocketing in MMR from fresh. But people usually do that anyways, because if you're playing with a friend just to play with them and you're more likely to lose, you don't want to play with that friend on a good account that you're trying to climb up to your main rank anyways, right? So people usually avoid doing that anyways because they don't want to ruin their own MMR on their Smurf. Are Iron to Challenger accounts against TOS now? This is technically still allowed as long as you're legitimately placed in Iron and you make your climb from there. If you are found to be engaging in ranked manipulation to place in a rank below your true skill level, that will be flagged and the account will be banned. So trying to intentionally derank to Iron or, obviously purchasing an Iron account, bannable. But if you were to place in Iron on a fresh account while trying, then that's fine. Maybe, that would be more likely to happen, I guess, if you're playing your worst champion in the game, or, if you were to not start with high normal game MMR, so you would, play the minimum amount of normal games that they let you play. Oh, interestingly enough, now that I think about it, because we talked about Tyler's experience with his 5 accounts, he wouldn't be able to do that nowadays because he leveled the accounts to 30 when you could play bot games all the way until level 30, but now there's like a minimum 10 game normal requirement that would have skewed things a little bit. But anyways, that's fine. I mean, even then, right, he would have just played that role for those 10 normal games and it would have been the real start of the climb, and he'd be doing somewhat poorly because he's learning the champions and figuring out what his champion pool is going to be. But anyways, that's kind of interesting that that's not possible now to do all the way bots to level 30. You'd have to play the 10 minimum games. But yeah, if you wanted the chance to do Iron, you would want to certainly play as few normal games as possible so that your MMR doesn't have a chance to get higher. And then maybe you get an unlucky placement. Now you have an account in Iron or something like that. For a good player, though, that's really hard, even on a random roller champion, to have that happen. I think all of my accounts, and it's actually easier now to place even higher because of the normal game MMR and stuff like that. I think that, so my first account, my main account, initially I started the game myself in Bronze 3, and made it all the way to Challenger. But for my Smurf accounts, and I don't remember what rank I was on my main when I started Smurfing, but I want to say like Plat or Diamond. And I had never gotten an account placed into anything below Silver. Although there were periods of time then when Iron didn't exist, but still. So I think it'd be really hard to, and that was when I was only a Plat or a Diamond player. So now that I'm even higher, really hard to genuinely place into Iron. You'd have to get really unlucky. Can my Challenger friend duo with me on an alt so I can learn? Not in ranked because that would be boosting, but you're welcome to play in normal Summoner's Rift queues or other game modes. We understand that this might not be what some friends who play together want, but for the rest of the players in the lobby, it's simply not fair and ruins their ranked experience. So this actually contradicts, this is another direct answer to my question though, but this actually contradicts what was said earlier, which is kind of confusing. Dang, the spacing on this I'm so small now. Okay, so on the what is the range of rank difference that qualifies as an account being boosted, it sounds like unless there was a major change in MMR over a short period of time on the account, there's just no way that the detection system will detect you and ban you for playing with someone. But this is saying that if, and it's giving another extreme example again about Challenger, but this is basically saying that you shouldn't play with anybody on an alt account at all. But then again, okay, so it says in this extreme example, Challenger friend, but what if the friend is Masters? Or what if they're Masters at the moment? Or what if they're Diamond and you're Gold? Or something like that. It doesn't really say. But I think that this is just secondary. They're explaining here more of the moral, which is that if you're significantly higher ranked than the person you're duoing with, that you should be playing normal games, and it would be considered boosting. But you're not going to get banned for it unless it causes a significant rank change over a short period of time. So, I mean, that's kind of where it is. It's still kind of in a gray zone, but this is a lot more helpful to understand that you probably won't get banned unless you're playing with this person very frequently. Let me make this bigger again. I'll just go down. Are streamers and pros going to be given exceptions? We won't be allowing exceptions, so if they create a Smurf or engage in rank manipulation, we'll penalize those accounts just like any other player. That said, we will give them practice accounts with their main account's MMR so they can do things like play in another region for content or practice for international tournaments without having to spend their time climbing. I wish that this was true, but the reality is that as far as I know, and, you know, I haven't like tried to do this myself. I haven't like gone to Korea to play or anything like that. But as far as I understand, only people in the League Partner Program, the LPP, can get accounts like this from Riot or pro players. And most of the time, there are a lot of people like Dantes, you know, like me, although I'm much smaller, who are not in the LPP program. And the LPP program has been closed to anyone joining it for years. So, and they said they were going to bring it back, and they have not done that, and they're over a year late in bringing it back. So while this is true in theory, when they say streamers, they actually mean like that they're going to give streamers accounts. What they actually mean is if you're a streamer who's in one of the few who's in the LPP program. But if you're not in the LPP program or you're not a pro player, very difficult to get an account from Riot for this sort of thing. So that is very difficult. So I think that it will be very difficult for a lot of smaller streamers or like high-rated solo queue players to get an account to do this on ethically. I would love if Riot, instead of having to hand level a Smurf account and grind it from silver or gold to like masters, if Riot gave me you know, a D1, you know, or a master MMR account that was fully leveled for me, that would be wonderful. But the reality is they're not going to do that for every YouTuber and streamer, every small YouTuber and streamer, and every high rated player on the game. They're just not. And so the reality is that we have had to hand level those accounts ourselves. We had to climb through all of the ranks with those accounts ourselves, and that meant playing a lot of games in lower MMR. I think maybe if you're Grandmasters Plus, you should just automatically be able to get a Smurf account that has the same MMR as your main account for practicing on, given to you by Riot. It should be really easy. It could even be an automated process. You may say, well, that's crazy because that's just giving you a Smurf for free. But the thing is that it prevents me from ever having to play those games in gold and platinum and emerald and stuff to climb through in the first place. So it's actually much more ethical for them to give those accounts away like that so that those games don't ever occur. Okay, but anyways, yeah. Oftentimes, like getting an account in Korea and stuff like that is really hard to, you know, even for a streamer going and trying to do something. If it was easy for someone as big as Dantes, he would just be given an account by Riot. If Dantes can't get an account from Riot to go play in Korea, you know, I don't know how anybody else is going to do it. So unless they're talking about the few people in the LPP program, this is just ridiculous. How are you punishing smurfing and boosting? Our penalties are as follows for both the account being boosted and the player boosting the account. First offense, 3-day ban. Second offense, 14-day ban. Third offense, permanent ban. 6-month account suspension when duoing with a confirmed scripter. Your honor will drop to level 1 or 2 and will stay there until you have played a defined number of games without further penalties. Yeah, see, so this is like, I think that these are very reasonable ban timers. Like, I think for your first offense, 3-day ban, you know, seeing that happened and then being able to change who you're playing with, I think that that's totally fine. Like, a 3-day ban is not going to hurt, you know, anybody at all. So I think it's totally appropriate punishment to just say, okay, you need to not do this anymore. Otherwise, you're going to get banned for a long time. So I think this is a great first punishment to just let people know. Like, for example, if I were to somehow get banned, you know, for playing with a friend or something on another account, I would know, okay, boom, can't do that anymore. Come back 3 days later with really no effect to my account, take a little vacation, you know that a bigger penalty is coming if I ever do that again, and give me the opportunity to not ever do that again. And then we change behavior and not do that again to avoid the 14-day ban. You know, make sure we don't get close to the third offense, which is a perma ban. The other thing here that I don't like that's always scared me is I'll sometimes randomly duo with people that I've met off of the rank ladder, like AD carries and stuff like that, for example, right? Like Lethal. I've duoed with Lethal in Masters and stuff like that as an AD carry player. I duoed with Sam, back in when we were like high diamond trying to get into Masters. Another guy that I met playing League in solo queue. I have no way of knowing whether those people are scripters or not. I mean, it would probably become obvious, I suppose, at some point. But it's like, or something weird would be up. I guess you'd be able to tell maybe that you were playing with a scripter. But what I really worry about with this is if someone, it just says like, if you're duoing with a confirmed scripter, how many games? Is it like one game you duo with someone who happens to be scripting or scripts at maybe even a different point, and all of a sudden you're just 6 months banned? That's crazy. So I hope that the subtext here is that if your account's going to face a 6-month ban for duoing with the scripter, I just really hope that it's like it has to be a significant number of games. They have to be scripting while they're in your games, not just in somebody else's games. Because I would have no way of knowing whether these people I met in solo queue are scripters or not until like maybe we played a decent number of games and something seems sus about it. So I don't know. That just concerns me with like people being able to duo in Masters. Like it's totally possible that I start duoing 3 games with some random person. Turns out they were scripting. Maybe I can suss it out and stop duoing with the person. Maybe I don't, and we end up playing 50 games together or something like that. That just really scares me. But I'm sure that this is meant to be targeted at people who are like scripting together, or like where somebody is using scripting as a tool to duo boost somebody faster in an obvious way. I assume that that's what they mean. I assume that that will be accurate. I just want to be really clear on what the rules are, because I'd hate for an account that I've had, with all these skins on it and stuff like that since season 2, season 3, I would really hate for this account to get banned out of nowhere because I duoed with the wrong person or something like that. So I'm sure this doesn't mean for just one game. It would probably be the same thing as we read up here. It'd be like a significant change to your MMR over a short period of time while they also ban that person for scripting. And that's probably what it would be likely to be. So that's probably how they would identify it. Probably would not happen from just one game. Okay, let's see. Your honor will drop to level 1 or level 2. And will stay there until you played a defined number of games without further penalties. Exclusion from receiving the current season's rewards and revocation of a season's ranked rewards if already received. All LP and MMR gains from the boosting are reverted. Account sharing. I play League in an internet cafe, PC bong, or on a shared household computer. Will my account be linked to the other accounts used on the same computer? No, we're not just flagging accounts that share the same IP address. We have additional methods that inform whether we know someone is account sharing or not. Checking one box is not enough, so we will check multiple to be confident in that decision. So obviously IP is one, they're making it very obvious here. IP is one method that they use for telling whether it's like an account is being shared to a different place or something like that. But there would be obvious things. So for example, let's say you go over to a friend's house. You play on their IP, right? But the thing is that they can tell because of all the other metrics that it's not your friend playing and that it is indeed you playing because of how you're playing. And all the in-game metrics they have, how frequently you cast abilities, what champion you're playing, all kinds of things, right? And you'd be hard-pressed to manipulate this, because even if you try picking weird champions or something like that, like you pick each other's champion or something to try to confuse it, the other factors will still find you out. So for example, my wife and I play from the same house, but it's going to be pretty obvious the difference between like me playing Janna and her playing Janna, because we do not play the same way. She is a long queue enjoyer. She likes to set up those queues way back in the bush and let that thing ride. And I am a short queue enjoyer. I will never press my queue unless someone's coming at us, and I can immediately try to cancel their dash or CC them with my queue on Janna. So we play Janna very, very differently, and it would be very obvious to a system with all these different metrics and data that we're not the same player. So for example, if I were to hop on her account and play Janna, it would be pretty obvious. And if she were to hop on my account, God forbid, and play Janna, it would be obvious, especially the losing part of it. But, so there's ways of knowing, and IP sharing and stuff like that's just one part of it. How often will I need to share my account to trigger a ban? This is the other thing too, right? Is just like all the other things, they want to be really confident. So if you're like over at a friend's house infrequently, it's just not gonna like be significant enough to see that something's going on. And there's also like not gonna be significant changes to your ranked anyways that would cause anything to happen like that. So it just seems like, things like that would be so few and far between or insignificant that it wouldn't be able to pick up on them. Okay, so let's see what it says here. How often will I have needed to share my account to trigger a ban? If you want to keep your account in the clear, you shouldn't share it because that goes against our TOS. But if you just shared it for a single normal game or a game of TFT, we likely won't punish you for that. If you shared it in a way that we can correlate to boosting or ranked manipulation, then we'll start suspending the account, removing the boosting benefits and any associated ranked rewards, regardless of how frequently it was shared. So again, same thing that we were just saying. It seems like there would have to be, one game is not enough. There would have to be a pattern because they're trying to get to a certain confidence level with the automated system to make sure that they're not falsely banning too many people and having to go through that. If I let a friend play on my account a few years ago, will my account get banned? Depending on whether or not ranked manipulation occurred while sharing your account, then we may or may not enforce our TOS with the suspension. So again, this is kind of a weird statement, right? Because really the question is about a few years ago, but it's also addressing if a friend played on your account, and they're saying that ranked manipulation has to occur, meaning that you probably wouldn't get in trouble if there wasn't a significant change to the rank or something like that that would be noticeable. What if I shared my account with my little sister, brother, friend, but now we both have our own? Similar to the above, as long as you both aren't playing ranked on each other's accounts and engaging in ranked manipulation, then you're most likely fine. If you had like a shared account that was like permanently shared though, like they're saying here, like maybe two kids had an account together or something like that they just shared back and forth over and over again, and it was recently, that account is probably going to get banned. So yeah. What will happen if I use my friend's account as an alt? If you used it to boost or manipulate their rank, then the account will likely be flagged for rank manipulation and banned. If you've only used it to play normals, game modes, or TFT, then you'll most likely be fine. What will happen if my friend gave me their old account and it's my new main now? This one's a bit trickier. If their MMR was significantly lower than yours and you increase the MMR drastically within the past year, there's a good chance you'll be flagged for ranked manipulation. Sharing and selling accounts is against our TOS, and if it gets flagged and detected for ranked manipulation, we'll stand by the penalties and any future detection and penalties because it was technically a shared account. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, and this is actually an example of it going up, but you would obviously have examples as well of somebody giving an account that's too high and it going down. So yeah. Purchased and bought accounts. To what extent does having ever purchased an account matter? Selling and buying accounts is against our TOS, so we'll almost certainly ban that account, but your legitimate accounts won't be penalized. If this happens after we roll out our account and penalty linking changes, then all of your accounts could be banned. So don't buy accounts. This is your final warning. And I would just encourage you, from my own personal experience, way before, many years before this, this stuff that they're doing now, it is a complete waste of time and money to buy an account. You buy an account, and they get accounts in different ways, right? They'll use like the bots to level up the account, and then it'll get detected that it was leveled up using a bot and then banned later on after you've wasted a bunch of time and money. Other things can happen as well. Like in some cases they will, like let's say you want to find a place that's selling non-botted accounts, right? Hand leveled accounts. Well, here's the problem with that. If you want to find an account that's hand leveled to buy, First off, with the new detection system, they're going to be able to ban it anyways because they're going to tell on Vanguard that it's a different player playing a different way, different champions, different play style, different frequency of abilities cast, and all this different stuff. Habits within even the client probably are tracked about how often you're clicking into certain tabs. For example, I use item sets a lot, so I'm sure they'd use data on how often I'm clicking into item sets and copy pasting item sets between my accounts to link my accounts together. There's stuff like that they can do. But even before that, a problem that you can run into with buying hand leveled level 30 accounts or like old accounts or whatever. So a lot of times it'll be billed as like, oh, well, this person quit, so they decided to sell their account. And so now I can get like a legitimate non-botted account. Again, you're still buying it, so it's still going to get banned for that reason. But that didn't used to be the case. They had a harder time detecting that it was bought. Here's the kicker. A lot of times they'll use it by stealing somebody's like email stuff, and the email won't be changeable. It'll still belong to like the old email or whatever, and the person can come and steal the account back. So one thing that can happen that I've heard in the past is that you could buy an account that was like somebody's old account or a legitimately leveled account or something like that that's gotten all the way to level 30 by hand, usually somebody's old account who doesn't play anymore. But what's happened is that they've come in and they've hacked the account in order to get the login information and then allow you to, like set up your login information for the account. But you can't go back and change the original email without access to that original email. And so as a result, the account is never really yours, and someone can come yoink it at any time, and you could run into a lot of problems. Like they can, request the password change through their old email, or even if they sometimes can't get into the old email, they can go to Riot and make a ticket, and they can get their account back and stuff like that, and then your account's gone. So a lot of problems there with that. So yeah, I would definitely say even before all of this crackdown, it just never made any sense to me to buy an account. You can level an account really quickly. The other thing, if you're interested in like how to level an account or something like that, is I think that, they sell a bunch of different boosts. They sell per win boosts, and they sell like time boosts for like a day, 3 days, stuff like that. The best thing that you can buy when you start an account for the cost, for the money, is for $5, you can get there's like a starter pack for each role. And it gives you 3 champions in that role, gives you a skin for each of those champions, and it gives you a 3-day XP boost. And then if you play bot games and normal games for those 3 days straight, like over a weekend or whatever you have the time, if you play for like 3 days straight, you will have finished leveling the account before that 3-day boost wears off. Now, you can do it faster for less time if you buy individual boost, but it would depend on whether it's, how fast you actually level up with the per win boost. I don't think is worth the money for how much they cost, but it would depend on how much money you make and how much money you have and are willing to throw away. But if you were willing to spend $5 to $20 on an account anyways, the best thing you can do is spend $5 in 3 days leveling an account with one of these new player starter bundles or whatever, and then you will zip through leveling the account pretty quickly with that. I think it's like a double XP boost for those full 3 days. You just play as much as you can in those 3 days. Even if you don't get it all the way there, you get it level 26, level 27 or something like that, you'll be close enough that you'll finish it in no time. That's the best way to level an account. And then the account is completely yours. According to even their latest stuff, it's completely legitimate. And then you can go play another role, have a practice account, an account for when you're maybe not playing at your best, you're maybe tired or hungry on tilt, whatever. If you just want another account to do whatever, it could be to learn a new role, learn new champions, have an alternative account besides your main to play when you're not feeling well. That's the way to do it. And it always has been for years. So these accounts have been getting banned sporadically for years. It's just not been in this much all at once in force. Vanguard's made it easier for them to detect across a lot of accounts. Will my main account get banned if I ever used or purchased a botted account? No, just because you purchased or used a botted account a few times doesn't mean that your main account will get banned. That said, if we detect that you're a frequent user of purchased or botted accounts, you're more likely to receive a penalty. There's probably a recency bias to this as well. One of the things that they're trying to crack down on here that they've talked about is that in a lot of cases, players are buying a boosted account or a botted account to level 30. They'll buy a botted account to level 30, and then they'll like rank that account up as high as they can and then sell it. So they're like using it because they either need to duo boost somebody, so they need accounts at different ranks, or they're trying to like rank up and sell an account. It's this turnover thing where their job doesn't make sense to do the level 30 part themselves. And so that's why they're saying there's a link between boosting and bot accounts. That's what's going on there. The other thing that's important to keep in mind is that the nature of boosting and of botted accounts or even hand leveled accounts. Hand leveled accounts are not going to work anymore if they're hand leveled by somebody else. So in a lot of cases, like a cheap boosted account or a cheap hand leveled account can only come from one place, and I'll just say it's Venezuela, okay? But it's more than Venezuela, but this is actually the reality of how this works. You make very little money as a booster. Very, very little money. It may even be way less nowadays than it used to be back in Season 2 or Season 3, but boosting pays very, very little per hour. I think people have showed that it was like $2-3 an hour to be a booster. The reason why this is possible is because only in a country that is much poorer than the United States or than Europe or even than China or Korea, only in these poor third world countries is it like viable to boost. So boosters are not almost ever American or from like a first world country, because it's simply not financially viable to be a booster. Now there are account sellers who can like get an account to GM or Challenger. Maybe that's a different story. Maybe that pays, with what the accounts go for. I don't know. Maybe they go for a higher amount that makes the time worth it if you can get it there really frequently. But to level an account to level 30, which anyone can do, or to like duo boost in gold for a little bit and stuff like that, it just pays so little. Or to do a rank up from like silver to gold, it's so little and so many people can do it that the price for it is very, very low. And so almost all the boosters are in like poorer third world countries like South America and stuff like that. Venezuela in particular, because of course their country is under a lot of economic turmoil right now. And so they almost all come from places like that where $2 or $3 an hour American is a lot of money. Whereas like here, that's not livable. You would, you make 5 times as much working at McDonald's, you're going to go work at McDonald's. So, so to be in Venezuela and to be able to make $3 an hour boosting is pretty nice, because then it's paying as much as some regular jobs there, but you're getting to play League. And you don't even necessarily have to be that high skilled, because you could be, in Venezuela and you could be a platinum or an emerald player and you could be doing duo boost from silver to gold or from bronze to gold or something like that. You'd still be capable enough to do it. And, even as not that high of a rated player, and now you're making a decent amount of money in that country. So those are that's just the way that it works. There's a lot of, it's kind of low demand actually for like low level boosts and like boosting to like diamond or under. There's just kind of low demand for it, to be honest, and high supply of people who can do it. And there's poorer countries across the world that are able to do it, that can compete across the border, because they can play from wherever as long as they can do it on ping. And that's just how it works. So there's very rarely ever American boosters. Very, very rarely the case. Even the case with like Korea, very rarely. So yeah, that's just how it goes. I'm sure there's some similar culture in Europe. I wonder if like maybe poorer like North African, Middle Eastern countries, or maybe even some Eastern European countries are where all the boosters are from in Europe, instead of, Germany, the UK, Sweden, stuff like that. So it's just how it is. I'm just explaining how it works. Will my main account be banned if I purchase another account years ago but don't use it anymore? Blah, blah, blah. We did that one already. Will all botted accounts be banned, or only if they were botted in the past few years? Our goal is to ban all botted accounts that are being purchased or sold going forward. We'll be making some exceptions for players that have purchased accounts in the past that are now their mains and have been in good standing, however. So it sounds like obviously the detection system that they have now is going to be much better at banning stuff moving forward. So maybe they'll go back a little bit if they have some data on it since Vanguard rolled out, but they've already banned a bunch. The reality is that they're not going to be able to go back before Vanguard existed and ban a bunch of accounts. And honestly, if they had accounts that they knew were botted accounts from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, they probably already banned those ones. So it's just, I don't think it's going to ban anything going back, before Vanguard existed. And they've already banned, over the last couple of patches, they've already banned most of the accounts that Vanguard picked up on. This is the same question. I bought an account 10 years ago and now it's my main. Does this mean that I'll lose my account? No, you won't lose your account. We understand that many players who are in good standing have at one point in time purchased or shared an account that over time became their main account. In those cases, we don't want to punish those players for breaking our TOS a long time ago while respecting our rules since then. If a player has multiple purchased or shared accounts that they've been active on in the past years, we'll be less understanding of those choices and may ban all of that player's purchased or shared accounts. I have a hand-leveled account from a few years ago. Will I get banned for using it? If you yourself personally leveled your account and it has not been shared or sold, then you're likely in compliance with our TOS, so you're in the clear, and you're more than welcome to keep using them. So all my accounts are safe. Wonderful. I bought an account to play on when I used to live in another country and played on another server. Will that account get banned? If it's detected as botted or shared, it's possible that it will be banned. So now we got to answer a tough question. It's similar to what they said before, which is IP changes or massive location changes are not automatically going to ban an account, but they are a big part of determining whether an account has been shared or, moved to a different place. And it's possible that that will flag it, and with other things going on, but again, their detection system is very accurate. It has to be, because they get overwhelmingly, one, they could end up accidentally killing the game off if they ban too many people. Two, they could get flooded with requests for unbans, which they probably are anyways, even if it was legitimate. And so they have to be very careful with that. So if you lived in Europe and came to college in the United States or something, your account's not going to get banned. But obviously the IP changing significantly is going to get flagged for a while, and if other weird behavior happened, it's possible that you could get mistakenly banned, but it's very unlikely, right? Boosting. I'm in good standing, but a few years back, I got my main account boosted, regretted it, and I haven't done it since. Will I still get banned? No, if it only happened a single time a while back and you've been in good standing ever since, we most likely won't act on your account. Is there a way you'll be able to detect boosters and punish their accounts? Yes, our goal is to get boosting out of the league completely, and we have a very thorough system for detecting these accounts with high accuracy. Legitimate alt accounts. Okay, let's see. Can I have more than one account, for example, one for each role? Yes, as long as you do your placements to the best of your ability, haven't purchased it, created it yourself, leveled it yourself, don't share it, and don't engage in ranked manipulation. Okay, what if I have a second hand-leveled account that's close to my main's rank to play with friends? You're fine as long as you aren't deranking to play with your friends in ranked or on your alt account, and only play ranked with them when you're both eligible to queue naturally together. Sounds good. I'm diamond, but I have a hand-leveled account to play ARM with my low MMR friends. Will that account get banned? No, ARM MMR is different from ranked MMR. That's a funny question. If I'm a Masters player and create a new legitimate alt account, but get placed in gold while doing my best, would that be considered smurfing? No, if you legitimately tried your best and your placements got placed in gold, that mistake is on us. Wait, that happened to all my accounts. That said, if you're a high MMR player and get placed significantly, I think the old placement system, because I haven't placed an account in years, I think that the old, other than your yearly placements or whatever, I think that you're placed a fresh account, because I stopped hand leveling accounts because I didn't need them anymore, maybe back in college, maybe a couple of years ago. But yeah, anyways, feels bad. All my accounts got placed in gold. If I had waited, maybe we would have placed higher. Yep, it's them. If you are a high MMR player and get placed significantly below where you think you should be, please reach out to our player support team so we can look into it and assist you. I don't think I'll be doing that, but wouldn't that be funny if I like call them up and complain like, hey, I'm a pretty good support player, but whenever I keep playing mid lane and top lane, I keep getting placed kind of low. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Like, you think you could give me a little boost? Think you could give me a little bit of help there to play with some human players or something when I start out on my top lane challenge in 6 years from now. Reporting. How do I report someone for smurfing or having a bot account? If you believe this to be the case, you can report them using the rank manipulation category. Would you consider bringing back the tribunal so other players could decide on what happens to an account? Not at the moment. The tribunal had its own issues that we still don't have solutions for. Namely, it's not scalable for the hundreds of thousands of accounts we act on. I don't agree with that. Additionally, our goal is to make League a better experience for honest players, not naming and shaming players that violate our TOS. The reason why I sort of half agree with it. If they mean the scale of, which they said, because they said hundreds of thousands, like, okay, we're going to ban 400,000 accounts that were leveled using bots. Obviously, a massive ban wave like that simply can't be done by the tribunal because it would take too long, especially on like leveling with bots and stuff like that. Like, it's really hard to tell. Being honest, right? Like, people hate to admit this because other people will say, oh, it's so obvious to tell when I'm playing these normal games as a new player that like these aren't real people. They're not typing, blah, blah, blah. But like, to know with that level of confidence that you're willing to take someone's account away from them. So you have to be 99.9% sure, like their system is. Will players be 99% sure that somebody's leveling an account with a bot? No idea. Compared to watching a new player play, to us, it'll just look like they're all trolling. So, no, not easy to tell. The difference here, or the issue that I have with this, is that I think the tribunal was a really nice thing. Like most old school players, I think that the tribunal was a really good idea, but not for banning bot accounts or boosted accounts. What the tribunal was for was about reading arguments in chat and being able to tell whether someone was deserved banned for typing what they typed, or a punishment for typing what they typed, or whether they had been like bullied or manipulated or instigated on in a way that like caused them to do that in a way that was more forgivable. So the problem is that an automated system is just going to flag when somebody says a word or something like that. Whereas players can look at that and say, okay, this guy said this out of the blue to his teammate before anyone had typed in the game and was being a rude, toxic person. Boom, we're going to hit them with a little bit of a punishment for that. Whereas on the other hand, you're going to have a player who, it gives discretion. What it gives is the automated system is just going to ban them all, whether they were retaliating, whether they had been instigated on, whether they were being bullied and defending themselves. Regardless, it's just going to hit them with, you said this word, or enough people reported you for this behavior that you're just hit. Whereas I see all the time chat logs, right, where they'll show the chat logs when somebody logs into the game. I see all the time someone will show me their chat logs from those 3 games, or streamers will show what they got chat restricted for, and it's like, okay, we would have voted to not chat restrict this person because like what was going on in the game and what was being said to them first made it okay for them to say at Master Plus, you guys are a little bit, special. So like if they say something like that, players would use their discretion to say, if they weren't the person who started it, if they weren't the person who was like trolling the game and they got frustrated because they cared about winning the game and typed a few little minor things, I think that people would vote with their discretion to not punish that. Obviously, Riot wants to just ban all of those people for typing whatever, and to punish all those players for typing because they want everyone to be really nice. And they don't want the game to be too toxic. But I think that players would be acceptable with a level of toxicity Riot is not okay with, and that's why they don't want to bring back the tribunal. But the reality is that the tribunal allowed for players to say, hey, look at the circumstances of the game that this guy was in that he got banned for, or said this thing in, or look at what was said to this guy first that pushed him over the edge. And then people will be more understanding. Whereas it's like, okay, this guy initiated all this stuff out of the blue because he's cranky. boom, hit him with the chat restrict. So anyways, that went a long time. You know how I am. We managed to stretch 7 minutes into, I mean, there was a forum post too, come on. But we managed to stretch the 7 minutes into an hour and a half. It sounds like the TLDR is that they are going to be continuing to ban more accounts, for ranked manipulation, boosting, duo boosting, and hitchhiking, that sort of thing. But you are probably going to be fine as long as you did not cause a significant MMR change over a short period of time, and as long as you hand level your accounts. But accounts that are being bought and sold, or accounts that are being leveled using bots, those are going to get banned and picked up on by the system. And accounts that are duoing where they're causing a significant change in MMR over a short period of time, those accounts probably are going to get banned. Rolling out in the next couple of patches here towards the end of the year in November, they're going to be linking your Smurf accounts to your main accounts through just the detection system that they have. Obviously, like, same computer, same play style, same habits, stuff like that, maybe same champion pool. They're going to be able to link your accounts so that if one of your accounts is getting restricted or banned or something like that, it's happening to all of them, and that your honor is probably going to be affected across your accounts as well, I would assume, so that you have to be honorable on all your accounts. So for example, if you're want your challenger ranked rewards and you're being super honorable Henry on your main challenger account, but then you go and you're an evil person on your lower rated Smurf to let out your anger or something like that, you're not going to escape losing your ranked rewards on your main and stuff like that. So you have to be, or if you're on an account that you don't care about, that maybe you're just willing to walk away from for a while, and you decide that it's okay to troll or something like that, you'll get punished for that on your main, so you're less likely to do that. A lot of changes, overall pretty good. I think the clarification was about as clear as they can get without explicitly spelling it out, covering too many scenarios and like revealing too much information. So I'm really, really grateful for Riot for answering my questions pretty specifically in that FAQ about, can I duel with lower rated players? It sounds like the answer is ethically no. Are you going to get banned for it then if you decide to do it anyways? Probably not if it's a game here or there. Not unless there's any significant MMR change over a short period of time. So I'll keep that in mind. I guess one more question that I have that they didn't really answer moving forward would be, what if you have, because this is very common and actually maybe something I would be more likely to engage in, although I haven't done this in a while. A big question I have now is, if you have two Smurfs who are starting fresh accounts together, or maybe have somewhat fresh accounts or like lower rated accounts together, if two Smurfs duo together, and that's where you're actually more likely to see a quick large movement up. So like if me and an AD carry, like if Lethal and I decide that next season we want to start fresh on fresh accounts together, we're going to both prepare level 30 accounts, and if we decide to abandon our main accounts or something like that, or maybe just at some point we decide to just like Smurf it up through ranked together, we just want to take fresh accounts up to challenger together or whatever, would we get banned for boosting each other because according to those metrics it sounds like yes, because there would be a significant change in MMR on the account over a short period of time, but it would be for both of us, and neither of us is really boosting the other. We're both good players. We're just duoing together. So are like duo Smurfs not allowed? And would duo Smurfs be picked up, detected, and banned? Maybe that should be the case. I'm just wondering, because I think AD carry and support players do this all the time. I've done this in the past, where I'll get on an account with someone who will win 14 games in a row, on fresh accounts. Feels really nice. And it's just a great way for AD carry and support players to like rank up alt account quickly together. So that's something that I've done in the past, and I would wonder whether that would get banned nowadays, because you would see a significant change. The weird thing about it is, like, according to what Riot's saying, if you're both on a Smurf that you hand leveled it shouldn't be a problem. But because you're both similar MMR players on your main and on your Smurf, you both hand leveled your account. It shouldn't be anything wrong with it, but it sounds like it would get picked up by the current system. So I would wonder about that. And maybe they say, well, that is a unfortunate side effect of being able to do this to the other accounts that are legitimate duo boosting, and we're willing to take that casualty because, a challenger bot lane duo smurfing with each other to masters to GM until they can't duo with each other anymore is kind of busted anyways. So, maybe they decide that that's just not healthy for the game anyways, and that's fine as a side effect or casualty, but it seems like it wasn't thought about or answered here, so I'm a little bit curious about that. With that being said, hopefully you can avoid your account getting banned now, and we have the clarification we were looking for. Actually, before I end, let's just see if I think they're just talking about this arcane event, but
Jinx will now have a spot in.
We're here, so we might as well see what the last 2 minutes of the video are about in case they say anything useful.
Are also getting brand new recalls along with unique chompers to match each of their personas.
And if you already got the skin last year, it will of course be updated for free to include those new features. To find out more about the anniversary event, do check out the blog on arcane.com. Okay, a few more miscellaneous updates. We're working on improving tags for emotes, so you'll be able to search for any emote with just a champion's name. The technology is finally, almost, here. We're going to be shipping that sometime before the end of the year. We'll also have a change coming to the practice tool. Soon, when using the practice tool, you'll be able to play any champion if you started up solo. And this will allow you to try out champions you think you might like, or give them a test run if you've been on the fence about purchasing them.
Great. This was another suggestion we had made, that you should be able to play any champion as a new player in the practice tool to test whether you want to buy them or not and to learn the game. This is absolutely wonderful change. I'm glad we didn't skip the last 2 minutes.
That change will go live in patch 25.21, so do be sure to check it out.
Wonderful.
And for those of you wondering, the Blue Essence Emporium will be back in patch 25.23, and your shop will be back in 25.24.
Now, last, but certainly not least, we wanted to remind you all that the World's Play-In stage kicks off next week on October 14th in Beijing.
To celebrate, we'll be adding some map accents soon to bring a bit of Worlds to the Rift. Remember to do your pick'ems. Andre and I are working on them, and we actually have a bet riding on this one. Whoever's pick'ems are worse will wear the company and Mumu suit at a random company event.
That is true, unless my pick'ems are worse, at which point I will not. Anyway,
He's
that's
wearing
it.
that suit. All right, that's it from us today.
The next time you hear from us, it'll be later November or early December, and we'll be talking about some of the things you can expect at the start of 2026. Until then, good luck in your pick'ems, enjoy your climbs, stay honorable, and we'll see you on the Rift.
I'll put it here in case they're watching, because they always pick up on these suggestions. I'm going to put this in another video anyways, but I'm going to put it here at the end. So if you hear it twice on my channel, sorry about that, but these people need to hear it. They need to make rune pages not cost 6,300 blue essence for an extra rune page. It is so antiquated that you can go to the shop and buy an extra rune page for 6,300 blue essence. Makes no sense. Like, the argument would be, well, it shouldn't matter that much anyways, because you've got 2 rune pages for free on a new account, or if you're a new player, and you can swap your runes in Champion Select now, so it doesn't matter that you don't have a bunch of different presets. I think that that's stupid. If you're able to change your runes in Champion Select anyways, so your argument is, oh, it shouldn't matter because they can just redo them over and over again in Champion Select, then it's just a convenience thing. New players should, like all the old players, without having to spend 1 billion blue essence on it, be able to go and pick up rune pages for free so that they have 20 different rune pages like any other game, where if you have the ability to customize, you can have your setup for 10, 20 different champions, however many champions you want in your thing. It is very annoying to me when, and I get my situation is very different than a new player, but use my situation of understanding this as a proxy for a new player. If I'm on my 80 carry account and I have 3 80 carry champions that I want to play, but 2 rune pages, I am constantly having to redo and tweak and look up the same rune page over and over again. Maybe I'm stupid and should have it memorized by now, but I'm having to redo I take this second rune page and I'm only able to keep 1 permanently because I'm constantly having to redo the second rune page between the other 2 champions. I don't want to spend 6,300 blue essence on one singular rune page setup when I can change it in Champion Select for free anyways. And it's just an annoyance and a convenience thing. There's no reason why rune pages need to be 6,300 blue essence anymore. The other thing is, I bet a lot of players don't even know, even if they wanted to buy the rune pages for 6,300 blue essence, they don't even know where to go do it, or that it's in the shop in a different tab. Because in most schemes, if you had the ability to purchase an additional preset or something like that, you would have that option right there under the runes tab, so that you could sell more of it as a game, or so that it would be obvious to people that they can get more of it. So I bet a lot of people just legitimately think that, oh, I'm only supposed to ever have 2 rune pages, but you're supposed to be able to have up to 20. So I think it's just a simple convenience thing of saying, okay, we need to give people okay, we made runes free, we made the ability to change them in Champion Select. Let's let you make as many presets as you want, ideally, but at least give them a few rune pages for free or something. And it could be implemented in different ways. You could just make all the rune page purchases free. You could half the price and just make it cheaper, but keep the thing. You could you could keep the limit at 20, but there's lots of different ways that you could do it. But the point is, people should have more than 2 rune presets that they're able to create for free. It's just an antiquated thing that I think has been forgotten about. I'll probably make a whole separate thing about it. But anyways, with that being said, bye Riot. Good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day.